Next, from Springfield, we take an early look at some of the candidates who may run statewide in 2014. We hear from State Senator Kirk Dillard, who barely lost the Republican nomination for governor in 2010. We'll hear if he's interested in again running for governor and what issues he would focus on. This runs about 10 minutes.
Senator Kirk Dillard, thanks for joining the Illinois channel, and it's been a while since we spoke with you, but it's no secret here in the Capitol that you are considering a run for governor, as you did 4 years ago. Tell us, where do you stand at this point in that decision-making process?
You know, it's funny. People don't sometimes realize that political figures are real people with real families. Recently, within the last week, was the last day of school for my children. So my wife, myself, and my kids have to sit down, and to find 4 or 5 days in the middle of a summer with a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old where we can all travel as a family together throughout the great state of Illinois is challenging. And we will announce around the second week of July, and that's when we have a little break in between swim meets and soccer games and the things that kids do. Terry, I've been on a listening tour of Illinois since I was born. Went to Western Illinois University and Paul University under the elevated tracks. I've lived downstate. My wife's family hails from just north of here. We were married in a town of 400, you know, I've been out and about my entire life in Illinois, both as an elected official and as a former staffer to a couple of governors.
We are gathered here again because Governor Quinn has called back the legislature to deal with the pension issue. Give us an overview of your own thoughts on what's going on, both financially and politically, with this pension problem.
Well, I voted for the Madigan plan, the bigger plan, because it's the only game in town. The numbers have to work. And we are accruing, as we sit here and talk, $17 million a day in interest. It's unconscionable. Everybody is affected. The 12-year-old and 10-year-old daughter of mine that I just talked about, your kids, your grandparent, or your grandchildren. If you're a senior citizen, it's lumping debt on you. And Governor Quinn's been the governor for 5 years. I just find it unbelievably unacceptable that it's not been done. Real pension reform hasn't been done yet. Should have been done decades ago. And this state is paralyzed, not only financially by state government, with the universities and education and senior citizens and vendors to the state of Illinois, like hospitals being squeezed out, but our economic development is stifled. No company is going to move here or expand here. Many leave here based upon the $100 billion of pension debt that's out there. We have to have a plan that solves it. Our credit rating is the lowest in the country, so we pay more to borrow, so it continues to just snowball. And, you know, I know a little bit about balancing budgets, and I once was a chief of staff for Governor Edgar, who actually saw the state's credit rating for the only time in its state's history go up. We paid our bills in 17 days. We left $1.5 billion in the treasury when we were done. Having lived through a recession, all without an income increase, you got to lead and you got to have somebody to manage the second floor right down below us out of the office of the governor, and that just has not happened.
You know, I was going to say, you remind me that here we've been talking about the fiscal woes of Illinois for so long that when I go back to covering the campaign of 1998, one of the questions we were asking of the candidates for comptroller now is, what would you do with the $1 billion surplus that the state had at that point? So it obviously can be turned around, and hopefully that'll happen again. Relative to Speaker Madigan's approach versus Senator Cullerton's, obviously the question is on the constitutionality, and Senator Cullerton is arguing that you don't want to pass something, and then the Supreme Court kicks it out. You've held a number of hats. You're also a lawyer. I mean, just what are your own thoughts on the constitutionality of the issue?
Well, we'll never know until we pass a bill and send it across the street from this Capitol building to the Supreme Court. And maybe that's the pension red flag going off in the background here, but the Supreme Court's going to tell us what's constitutional.
Apparently, I don't know if that's a test or a fire thing. I've never actually heard that, I think, on the state capitol. So maybe we'll just take a little pause and then we'll... We're going to pick back up with Senator Dillard while the fire alarm continues to go off here at the state capitol. We were joking off camera that it's a little bit like maybe the financial alarms going off for the state. Virtually no one, as we stand here today, expects anything to come of this special session. But if it doesn't pass, and no reforms pass, and the problem goes on, what do you imagine is going to be the outcome, and how does the state continue to do business with this debt continuing to climb, and the $17 million a day of debt is going to increase to 18, 19, who knows for how long this goes on?
Well, the state has no choice, and time is of the essence. While the fire alarm goes here, Springfield is burning like Rome is burning, and Quinn and Madigan and Cullerton are fiddling like Nero. And I don't want to get partisan here, but with complete control by the Democrat Party, essentially comes complete blame. And the unfunded liability of the state's pension systems has tripled while they're in charge. If I was Governor Quinn, I'd have us here every day. I'd be locking people in the mansion, and none of the leaders are going to come out until it's done. This is the single biggest issue that's ever faced Illinois, and it's got to be done. It's $17 million a day of interest on my kids and on the people of Illinois, and it's got to end. We must have a solution.
Let me just go and we'll close out on the politics of announcing a campaign and assessing the chances. Illinois is a very blue state. You would be obviously a Republican candidate. To what extent, when you talk to people around the state and you take the political temperature, are you getting feedback that perhaps those who in the past have voted Democratic might be thinking that we need a Republican governor? Because a lot of people are going to say, it doesn't matter who gets the Republican nomination, this is such a Democratic state.
Well, I'm getting great feedback, and I have a history of having Democrats and independents vote for me. And Chicago Magazine said I'm a Republican that actually can win a statewide election. I think most of the pundits thought if I was the nominee, but for 193 votes, I would have beaten Pat Quinn last time. And I had 5 people from DuPage County running. This time I'll be the only DuPage person. But we need a two-party system. And we also need geographic balance. Everything is controlled by the Democrats, but Chicago Democrats, things work best when there's a two-party system. I'm a proven person that can get a Democrat legislature, both as Jim Edgar's chief of staff and as a Republican state senator. I've had success getting things through a Democrat-controlled legislature, making them live within their means. As chief of staff, they were in charge, but we forced them to live within their means. So, people need a two-party system. We need geographic balance. And I have a long track record of being able to work well with the other party, never giving up my Republican principles, but for the betterment of Illinois. And that's been lacking, and I know how to make this system work in Springfield. And with all due respect to the couple of businessmen that are out there, millionaire businessmen that want to be governor, I know how to make this business of state government run. Got a plan to make us a destination economy for people that create jobs. But running a business is a very different skill set than running a legislative arena with 177 people that don't always want you to succeed like your board of directors might in business. And I've run the state as well as it's ever run before. Credit rating went up under Wall Street, and I left $1.5 billion in the Treasury, and the state worked well and harmoniously between Democrats and Republicans. And we had geographic balance of that again, and that's why I'm the best candidate for governor of either party in the state.
Senator Kirk Dillard, as the fire alarms go off, maybe it's an appropriate sound for this interview and forewarning for the process where we find the state of Illinois fiscally.
Thanks for having me on. Even in a fire alarm, we got to get out of here because they're coming to get us.
You're watching the Illinois Channel.